I think Louis Armstrong, I mean, he was the flow down of that generation, in a way. His voice is so deep.
So that's going to be the bit that I use at the beginning. Louis Armstrong was the flow down of his generation. And I think to myself, what a wonderful length.
Extra Medium is a multi-genre DJ and producer whose journey began in electro swing but has since expanded into drum and bass, garage and beyond, always with a signature touch of jazz. In this episode, we chat about his early days in the electro swing scene, his label Thick Boy Records, and the viral mashups that have earned him hundreds of thousands of views across social media. We also dive into his remixes for artists like the Puppini Sisters, his lesser-known rap career, and his dream collaborations, all delivered with his trademark wit and sense of humour. Tune in for all this and more on the latest episode of the Electro Swing Podcast with the one and only
Extra Medium. Welcome to the Electro Swing Podcast.
Hello, thanks for having me.
So, for anyone who isn't familiar with you already, can you just give us a quick intro as to who you are and what kind of music you make, please?
Well, I am Extra Medium. I'm from Bristol, and I guess I take the sounds of Bristol's kind of underground music scene and the UK's bass-driven music scene and kind of fuse it with swing and jazz, and kind of started off doing electro swing in 2014 and developed to where I am now, which is more drum and bass and UK garage.
So, how did you first get into making music?
Have you heard of a film called 8 Mile?
I have, yeah. That obscure art house movie.
Yes, it's a bit of an art house film. It's quite underground, so I'm surprised you've heard of it, actually. So, anyway, me and my little brother were watching 8 Mile, as you do, as young lads, and we decided, yeah, this is it. This is what we're going to do for the rest of our lives. We're going to be Eminem / a rapper. So we started rapping and recording tracks in my mum's conservatory, and
just like Eminem
made several seminal albums, just like Eminem as well. I got into making beats because some of the beats out there, you know, we wanted to be our own thing, we wanted our own identity, so I started making my own beats. They were pretty great, actually, pretty good beats. I moved on from that, went to university and just studied music and started making music and got really engrossed into that, and then randomly kind of settled on a jazzy swing vibe, and then yeah, that's kind of the journey from rapper to producer to seminal albums.
So, according to Spotify, your first album came out in 2014. Is that correct?
Yeah, that was 2014. I think it actually I can't remember when I came out, like a year after I graduated. I think I spent like a year of just making tunes and then kind of got an album together randomly. I was just like DJing electro swing parties and then making electro swing. But prior to like 2012, I was making dubstep. So yeah.
Okay. So do you have any other releases as like a different name before that album, or was that your sort of first real official thing?
Not really. I hadn't really put the time in. I was too busy studying and chasing girls. And after I got a girlfriend and stopped studying, I found that I didn't need the need for that and just focused on trying to get a release. And it was something that I'd kind of like set myself a goal to write an album. So yeah, 2012 to 2013, I think I did that, and then I think it got released on Billy Bong Records. I got picked up there by Jürgen. And he like worked with a Berlin company, which then helped to publish it and did quite well with that. It was actually done probably the best numbers out of everything I've released.
Your biggest tune is from that album, right?
Yeah, Shake My Hand.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, that was the reason why they released the album, because of that one track, really.
Okay, so you started off making electro swing after your seminal rap career and dabbling in dubstep a little bit. Your style is very different now, though. So how would you say your sound has evolved over the years? Because it's like 10 years since that album came out.
I think I ended up, so in that 10-year period, I then went to Scour Records, which was more of a mid-tempo party breakbeat kind of label. And James Evans, who is running Scour Records, heard the album and picked me up, and he said, "Hey, do you want to release some music with Scour Records? We like what you do." So I've then started to focus on more lower tempo stuff and still kind of keeping it swingy kind of stuff and a bit of blues in there, and aimed for a UK kind of sound. Whereas I'd say Electro Swing, back when it was popular in this country, and reached its peak around 2014, and then kind of started to slowly fade away from the club scene. And it was more of a European sound, I'd say. Like, my music was more popular in Germany and still is, like the older stuff. And so I started to focus on, like mid-tempo stuff, and then slowly kind of got into UK garage and drum and bass. And that kind of has been influenced by my friends and Bristol, my friends in Bristol, in fact, and the events that we do in Bristol. So I'd say that I don't really see genre anymore. I just kind of just make music and play music out. So I will probably be looking to make more garage and drum and bass and retrofit my style and influences over the top of that. So it's definitely predominantly like UK garage and drum and bass that I make now, and that's what it's developed into from a housey swing vibe to hip hop to break stuff to then now being UK garage and drum and bass.
So here's the $1 million question. Would you still describe yourself as an electro swing artist? And if not, what would you describe yourself as?
No, I wouldn't describe myself as a electro swing artist. I don't think so.
Okay.
So
could you put yourself in a box now and say, I am this type of artist?
I'm bound by no box. No, I don't really know. Maybe if you'd asked me a few months ago, I'd have been like, yeah, I'm this or I'm that. But I just like making music and liking the music that I make, if that makes sense.
So, in addition to your own music, you have remixed a lot of tracks for people as well. How did that come about? How did you first get into the remixing game?
Well, I was already big in the game prior to that.
Of course.
But I think Barton Baker kind of hooked me up with the first remix that I'd officially done and released, which was Supermarket by Barton Baker, which is still available to listen to now. It's actually a great track. I still like it quite a lot. So if you want to listen to that, do, because it's good.
And did they just approach you? Did you know them already, or did they just cold approach you and go?
Yeah, I think I think it was through like the Facebook group, the Electro Swing Facebook group. We were kind of like interacting through there, and it led to a conversation. We liked each other's music, and it kind of hooked me up with that, and got me on a few compilations, and got me on my first ever CD, which is pretty cool. Barton Baker introduced me to Marcello Puppini, and I ended up remixing a few of her tracks, and I went on to produce a track, I'm in the Mood for Trouble, on her album, which then got remixed by Barton Baker, which is kind of, quite fun, because I started off remixing theirs and then they remixed my track, so it's quite cool. But then after that, I think I started asking people to do remixes, and with Ragtime, we were already like Tom, myself, Rich, and Chad were all kind of friends, and we were all hanging around at the same time as you and I in Bristol. So that kind of naturally occurred. They're like, "Hey, do you want to do this?"
Any other like high-profile remixes or interesting remixes that you've done that you want to mention?
I mean, I've done the Puppini Sisters as well. We did Sing, Sing, Sing. That obviously the relationship was there already with Marcella. That kind of naturally came about. I don't know if I've done anybody else that's like hugely high profile. I mean, Electric Swing Circus her track was great. Yeah, not really anything else bigger than that, really.
You've also done quite a lot of like mashup remixes as well. like the Severance theme tune and Feliz Badadan, which has been really popular, right? It kind of went sort of viral. So can you tell us a little bit about these?
We'll start with like the Feliz Badadan one. That was I just wanted to put together loads of Christmas tracks, and I was going to do like a whole like Bandcamp Friday free EP type thing, but I didn't get myself organised quick enough to actually do it because I'm a creative, you can't always tie me down. And
what, just to interject as well for anyone listening who doesn't know Feliz Badadan and can't decode it from my incredible impression, can you just explain what it is?
Feliz Navidad remix. It was a remix of Feliz Navidad and cut up with Badadan, a seminal track by Chase of Status. So it was kind of like Feliz Navidad, but instead of going Navidad, it went Feliz Badadan. Feliz Badadan. Feliz Badadan. Badadan, Badadan, Badadan. So yeah, that was a bit of a random one. And actually, the person I did that remix, I did a jungle remix of Feliz Navidad, and then I sent it to my friend Joe, also known as WBBL, and he was like, "Mate, you need to put Badadan on this because it's just always been an ongoing joke." So then I did a little reel that went viral, which is a nice little Christmas joke.
But then it's actually available, isn't it, as a song? Like
yeah, you can totally get your hands on it.
Yeah, and did a lot of people get their hands on it?
Yeah.
Did that viral attention translate to like?
Yeah, it did quite well. I mean, it got me some money from like donations on Bandcamp. Yeah, I mean, it was nice. It didn't do as well as my next viral hit,
which
was my Severance remix that I did, which went really astronomically viral and was kind of crazy, and it was a very strange sensation actually.
I choose Defiant Jazz.
That kind of came about. My girlfriend was like, "You should remix this theme tune," and I was like, "Yeah, all right, maybe I will." And I did it, and it was like, actually, this is good. Like, this is a good remix. And I didn't intend to make both of these tracks jungle. It just kind of happened that was the best fitting style for these and had the most impact for social media. Essentially, sometimes you make music which is more good for social media, and sometimes you make music which is good for, I don't know, streaming or for nightclubs. You know how it is. So that's why they kind of that genre and tempo. And then the edit, I made the track that took me probably like a few hours, and then I made a reel to go along with it, which probably took me we're probably talking close to 30-40 hours to do.
Right, okay.
Because I really went to town on it. There was so many back and forths trying to get that right so that it would go viral, which was the first time that I'd ever had that happen, really, at that.
And do you attribute the success of that song to that reel, would you say? Or do you think it would have gone viral anyway because it's a good song?
So it's interesting. I think the visuals definitely helped. It's like a music video. Yeah, I think that visuals and music kind of go hand in hand, and sometimes you can't, like, I think the impression of that visual really makes the tune for you sometimes. So I don't know. I mean, it's interesting. On TikTok, it did okay, but on Instagram, it blew up, and on Facebook, it did nothing.
It is really interesting how the different platforms perform. But I'm just intrigued because you say you spent like 30 or 40 hours making the video. Did you have any indication prior to that this song was going to be a hit? Because there's a lot of time to invest in something without kind of knowing that it might blow up. Or do you put a similar amount of effort into all the videos, and that one just happened to pop?
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought it would. I didn't think it would go as. I think I just got really passionate about it and just sunk into it. I mean, I did a reel for my latest release on Ragtime where I did a similar thing. Ultimately, it wasn't as good, as the Severance one, because that's why no one's seen it.
Well, it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because there's so many different factors involved with virality. And I would say, are you talking about your recent release, the Harlem? Harlem Fats? Yeah.
Yeah, the Harlem Fats remix.
Fats
remix.
I would say it wouldn't have mattered how amazing you made the video for that. It's just a less well-known tune. Whereas Severance is like the theme tune of like a globally famous show.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, you are completely right. I'm just being salty about it. It's more. I think if I'm going to do a reel or a video edit like that, I'm going to put a lot of time in. I want it to look good.
And just like, because I'm really intrigued, because I guess I've had similar experiences where like I've made a lot of content and then one thing has popped and I'm like, I want to backwards engineer it and be like, well, why did that thing blow up? And how can I recreate that? So you made the Severance song, which took a few hours. You then made the video, which took like 30 or 40 hours, but it was worth it because it went ridiculously viral. Were you like sort of motivated by your previous success with Badadan and you thought like, okay, that one popped, this next thing, if I put the work in, that'll pop as well?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I think that probably would have been my mindset at the time. I was like, right, I don't know what else I'd posted online at that time, but I think I was trying to get a few other things to pop off on social media, and they weren't. But they were already tracks I'd released, or just you couldn't really connect to them as well.
Well, which is another factor of virality, isn't it? So if you look at those two things and pick apart the components and go, okay, like it's funny because it's mashing up two things that don't belong together. It's something really famous that everyone knows, and it's got an engaging video. You could probably assume if I combine those three things again, I can consistently recreate that. So does that spur you on to want to do more remixes like that for more viral exposure, or not?
I think you're right. You add those components together. Yes, that should always work, but social media just isn't like that, I don't think. And I think the same thing if you were just like releasing single after single, like you've got these three attributes that make it this thing that you had success with prior. Doesn't mean it's then going to be as good as the original that you did. So it hasn't spurred me on to want to do more of the same thing, because the next thing was White Lotus is on TV, and I was like, oh, maybe I could do a remix of White Lotus. I started on it, and I think I just decided to go to the pub and forgot all about it. And like, and I don't think doing like that one trick kind of pony kind of thing really works. And creatively, I think it's a bit boring and tedious. I don't know about you, but I like a varied diet, and I kind of like a varied intake and outtake of music.
Yeah, I didn't want to put words in your mouth, and that's something that I've learned more and more from doing these interviews, is to just let people speak rather than try and crowbar in my own opinions. But that is definitely my opinion, would be like, doesn't matter how viral and successful you get, if you're just the theme tune remix guy and that's your career, like, yeah, that's not.
I wanted to avoid that.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I didn't want to become the theme tune guy.
So you've released a lot of stuff with swing and bass covers on it over the years. So like if I look at your Spotify, a lot of your tracks have swing and bass written on the cover. What is that? Is that a label? Is that a night? Is that a genre? Is it all three? Please explain.
I think Mr. Trick started doing swing and bass stuff and trying to push it as a genre, whereas Max Fizzy Gillespie was doing swing and bass events. I think he might have been doing it in Nottingham, maybe. And then those guys kind of collaborated because they were using the same terminology. I don't know who came up with it first, but they started to collab, and then the events was very much Max's thing or Fizzy's thing, and the label side of thing was kind of Rich's, or like the sound was kind of Rich's that he was developing, and I was kind of falling into it, seeing these events happen and the music kind of developing online. I was like, hey, I want to be a part of that, which is, I guess you say, that UK take on electro swing, like taking that sound and fusing it with drum and bass, which is very British inherently. It is a genre, it is a label, and it is an event the event has ceased to exist, unfortunately. I think I did the last one, I think it was in like October 2 years ago. I can't remember exactly if that's right. And I've released a lot of tunes with them. I actually did the first release, which was Hot Jazz Rollers. So it was the very first release I did on the label, which is cool. And it did really well, actually, for the label and myself. And the label kind of just threw everything they had at it.
And is the label still active if the night isn't?
Again, so I did their first release. I did their last release, I think, which was myself and Mr. Trick. I don't know if they're doing any more. You'd have to chat to them, but they're kind of quiet on that front, if you like. They're not pushing it as much. I think labels are kind of stepping out of the limelight, whereas artists can now manage and get their music heard so much easier just for using Instagram and TikTok. I think it's a tough landscape for labels, and it's easier, especially with artist-run labels, the artists just to focus on themselves.
So a couple of years ago, you started up Thick Boy Records, is that right?
Yeah, so that was a lockdown baby. The names came about during lockdown. Someone at work was not being very polite about my physique.
Is that really where the name came from?
Yeah.
Right.
He was basically calling me a thick boy.
Okay.
And I said, hey, no, I'm going to take that and start a label with it. So I did. It's kind of like that ownership over it, and wanted to started the label. And kind of the thick terminology also meaning like stupid as well, as an excuse to get like big thick bass lines and be a bit stupid and silly with it. So kind of mirroring the sound that I'd already been kind of doing, which is kind of upbeat, happy and a bit silly, and kind of rolling with that. And started the label in, I think it was April 2021. Yeah, the label's done quite well. I haven't really been pushing it very hard, because it's really hard to find the time to run a label, push other artists whilst developing you and pushing yourself.
I can absolutely imagine that.
Yeah, I'd say it's kind of a bit of I wouldn't say it's a totally flawed venture, but it is a bit of a flawed venture. It's something I'm quite proud of, but it's something I cannot maintain. And
at this point, is it more of a vehicle for your own music, would you say? Or is it just not a vehicle at all at the moment?
At the moment, I think I've just been a bit too busy to do it. I wouldn't say that it's still an event. So I'd say it's more of an event rather than a record label. And I'm just kind of using the Thick Boy Records name as a way of facilitating a stage or a festival like Shindig that we did this year, or doing a takeover to push that sound of the artists that are involved in the label. But releasing music-wise, that the limited success it's had for it, it's just not actually that viable. And the amount of effort you put into it, it's probably just better to do an event.
We'll move on to the Electro Swing section. Your first album came out in 2014, so you've been around for like 10 years. How have you seen things change over that time?
The quality's got better in a way. It was touch and go with the sound at the first, I think, because most of the recordings that were getting sampled were quite poor. Whereas now we can stem separate everything and use AI to buff up things and make things sound a lot better. And I think the quality of the producers has definitely increased. I'd say that there's less experimentation with the scene, but I don't currently listen to a lot of it. I'd say there's a lot less people actually making electro swing, whereas I think at the start there was like a lot. And I think you must have remembered in Bristol when we were doing the Swinging Things events, like the lineup would be very different from month to month, to then slowly being like the same people every couple of months as the events became less frequent. So I'd say there's less people basically making that or DJing that or pushing that sound.
So quick fire round. What is one thing in your career that you are most proud of, either creatively or commercially?
Fleas Batter Down and probably the label commercially.
Okay. And what would you say is one of the biggest challenges that you've had so far in your career?
I think carrying on with music and diversifying the sound and trying to change a sound when platforms don't essentially welcome you to diversify. They reward you to stay in your lane, if you like, and keep on making similar sound. Like you'll always see people struggle to change their sound from where they started. That difficult second album kind of thing, isn't it? So yeah, I think that's probably most I've struggled with, is trying to diversify.
If you could collaborate with any artist, dead or alive, who would it be, and what would that collab look like or sound like?
It's a real tough one because it's either Fred Durst or Louis Armstrong. I think Louis Armstrong, if you could probably get him to be the Flowdan. I mean, he was the Flowdan of that generation in a way. His voice is so deep.
So that's going to be the bit that I used at the beginning. Louis Armstrong was the Flowdan of his generation. And I think to myself, what a wonderful length.
Honestly, that would be so good.
Maybe that could be your next mashup, mate. If that one goes viral, I want a credit. Yeah, so either Fred Durst or Louis.
Yeah, or Louis, I think. I'd love to get Louis on some dubstep and Fred Durst on some electro swing. Just see what happens.
So any final words for fans and listeners of your music?
Big things coming soon. Also, thank you for being a fan, if you are. It means a lot. And I genuinely am making new music.
And what are those big things that are coming soon?
So I've got a few projects with Hype Man Sage that are coming along, which are quite dark, and I don't think it'll probably be a new alias.
Really?
Yeah. I haven't decided on what. It just doesn't fit. It wouldn't fit onto the streaming platform underneath the name of Extra Medium. So it has to be something different. It would just tank. And then with the Extra Medium stuff, I've got some, I would say, quite avant-garde, weird stuff, but still kind of jazzy and swingy in a way. Kind of taking kind of future UK garage and elements of swing that I've kind of been working on, and there's a few remixes from Wobble and McCarter that are going to be coming out from the EP that came out in January. So I've got that, and just promoting some events in Bristol. So that's kind of what's on the horizon.
Thank you, Extra Medium, very much for your time. It's always a pleasure to chat to you, mate.
Been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and good luck with all your upcoming things.
Yeah, thank you, mate. Much love.
So that was the latest episode of the Electro Swing Podcast, brought to you by Electro Swing Thing and hosted by me, Offbeat. If you want to find out more about our guest, links to their music and socials can be found in the description. And if you want to follow us, please do so at Electro Swing Podcast on all major platforms. And if you want to get a heads up about upcoming guests and a chance to ask your questions, then sign up at electroswingpodcast.com. I'll be back in another couple of weeks with my next guest, and thank you very much for tuning in.